Hey everybody, Professor Snart checking in. Okay, so we have just finished up our first essay, essay number 1. We have one more to go, which is really what the focus of the rest of our course is going to be. Brainstorming a topic, developing the essay itself, making sure we have the research sources in place. You'll have the opportunity to conference with me, either virtually via Skype or a couple of other ways we can do it, or we can meet in person. So the final essay for our course is now assigned in Unit 9, but it'll be due, as you can see, right at the end here, Tuesday, March 3rd. And so that's really the bulk of our focus as we move forward. Okay, so coming out of essay number 1, I've now finished grading all of the essays. It took me a long time to do. There was a couple that had file type issues, so that technical thing always kind of pops up here and there. Not that big a deal. What you'll have back is the grade, obviously, but also maybe a short comment and a link to a video. So that's how I do feedback for essays. I open it up and I screenshot my screen like you're doing right here, and I kind of walk us through your essay, looking at things that are strengths, but also areas for improvement. So obviously, in addition to the grade, make sure that you spend some time watching that video, figuring out if you made mistakes, what's the correction, because clearly even mistakes that you made, if they cost you in the first essay, that's bad enough, but you really don't want those same mistakes to cost you for the final essay, which is truthfully where the bulk of the points for the course are. So it's kind of you can think of it, final essay, as a sort of high stakes test for us. A lot of the points are there, but I like to look at that as a glass half full. It's your opportunity, having done all kinds of sort of lower point exercises, getting feedback, having examples to work through, all that stuff. It's your opportunity to show that you've done that work, that you've done what the course has asked. So yeah, it's a lot of points, but in many cases those points are really easy to get. They're as simple as making sure that you're using our MLA citation resources here. Have you done in-text correctly? Have you looked at the sample works cited page to see how the page itself is formatted? Have you consulted the library citing sources page to make sure you're following the right models? To me, that's pretty easy, and it's also cut and dry. I can see immediately if you have or haven't. So lots of points in that last essay, but try to see it as a glass half full opportunity to get a lot of those fairly accessible or easy points. All right. Back to our due dates then. So we're going to move through Unit 9, right? We have kind of a longer time, again, that week, as opposed to quicker turnaround. Again, a lot of our moving quickly early in our course is now paying off because you have more time to do the reading assigned in Unit 9, which is the famous play Death of a Salesman, but also to begin brainstorming a possible topic for your final essay. We then have a unit where, like I said, we will conference together. We'll meet individually, either physically or virtually through the computer, to talk about, hopefully, the draft of your essay. At this point, we're not just going to talk about an idea, and then we move towards submitting that final essay. Okay, so let me go to Unit 9. So Unit 9, our final reading, again, is Death of a Salesman. It's in our textbook. I am more than happy, and in fact would encourage you to watch this video too. It's a free version provided through Hulu. Watch as you read, or have what you can call script open in front of you. The movie follows almost word for word, I think, the text that we have. So I don't want you to do this instead of reading it, but I think in addition to, especially because it's a play that depends on kind of shifting in scene and time period, and truthfully, to see it, it's not that complicated. And of course, it's written to be performed, to be seen, but to read it, it can sometimes be confusing about which character is talking to which other character, what time period are we in. So to just read it, it can seem a lot more confusing than it really is. And it's a great movie. It really is pretty powerful. Dustin Hoffman is an amazing Willy Loman, and in a really strange coincidence, one of the more recent and famous Willy Lomans played on Broadway by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Same last name. I mean, what are the chances? That was a tragic loss. The other Hoffman. I'm also really kind of sad that as far as I know, his performance as Willy Loman on Broadway was never captured or videoed. I'm not sure if it's accessible somehow that I just don't know about, but I would love to have seen that. Okay, anyway, little quiz, more to direct your attention to some of the important or interesting aspects of the play, not to test your knowledge about its every intricacy or have you memorize it by any means. And then, of course, our assignment, not due until the end of our course, but here it is on your plate. Okay, so we're looking at 5 to 6 pages, not a huge, like 12-page, 30-page research project all of a sudden. An essay very much like the one that we've already written. We have 3 secondary sources required. Again, appropriate, relevant, so we're not just using websites, we're not just defining terms from the dictionary or whatever. They have to be from the databases and direct discussions of one of the primary texts that you cover, so like the play, for example. Some pointers for help through the library if you need some research help. And then maybe the biggest difference between our first essay and this one is in that first essay, I gave you a couple of prompts to choose from, like write about expectations, write about stereotypes, write about setting. In this one, I'm asking you to develop your own topic, but it's basically the same kind of essay. You're doing a literary analysis, so you're talking about ideas, a theme in a work, a particular kind of character. You're using at least one work. I'd like to keep it, from our syllabus, ideally. I think Death of a Salesman is an ideal choice. There's lots of research material, but also lots of interesting themes in that work. Of course, you're arguing a thesis, your interpretation analysis, not just a summary of the thing. And you can discuss no more than 2 primary texts. So one good approach to this kind of essay is to think of it as a comparative essay. So maybe take Death of a Salesman and think about not even just important themes, but types of characters or types of character relationships. The idea of family is so important in that movie, or in that book, I should say, that play. You can begin to think about, are there other works that you see family as important, or as the father figure, or themes of disillusionment, or things that are going on in the play. And so for that other text, the one that's not the play, not the one from our class, you can really be wide-ranging. So you could do a popular film, a TV show or episode you're familiar with, a novel you've read, almost anything. I've had people do songs before. So you can really bring in kind of something that you are familiar with and is interesting to you into this final research project. Obviously, if you have ideas that you're not sure about, you can email me. And it's certainly better to be confident in what you're doing, that it's in the right direction, rather than either not being sure or ending up discovering after the fact that the things that you picked really didn't work together, or one of them wasn't from our book or from our syllabus. So we do have to be a little bit careful here. But I think the comparative approach is a really good way of doing this final essay. So the discussion board for Unit 9 is just a suggestion of what topic you might cover. This isn't contractual. You might change your topic, but at least this gets the ball rolling a little bit. And then there's some important stuff on writing a comparison essay, which is, again, something that a lot of people might do and that I would really recommend for this final essay, final paper. Just a little heads up. As we move away from Unit 9 then and into Unit 10, this is our conference unit. So there's no particular due date for the conference, or there's no single date, but you'll see from the conference sign-up, which a few folks have already signed up for, I think, that we have specific dates that we'll be doing that. Either sometime on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, you'll see specific time slots for those days where you can, again, we can connect virtually or we can connect in person. But be aware that that part of our course doesn't operate exactly the way that previous units have in terms of having that one final due date that everything has to be done. You'll also notice in Unit 10 that we still do have a a discussion board assignment, which is a lot like Unit 9. You're telling us a little more about your topic, but also now including stuff about your sources. So as you can see, we build up, we build up, we build up till Unit 11, where you're finally submitting that last essay. So keep your eye on that final due date as we move towards it. Be aware of, especially this Unit 10, how it functions a little bit differently than units have in the past. And really set a goal for yourself so that if you have your student conference, let's say on the Monday or the Tuesday or whatever it is, pretend for yourself that that's the due date for your essay. The more you have together that we can look at that point, the more helpful I can be in suggesting areas for improvement, noticing works cited or research problems. So instead of just having basically nothing done here and then submitting finally here, which is the first time I get to see any of it, and so obviously it counts for a grade here, we can look at and maybe deal with a lot of those problems well in advance for that student conference. Okay, so hang in there, folks. We are getting pretty close to the end of our 8-week term, even though it sure doesn't feel weather-wise like we're getting any closer to spring, but it has to come, right? It always does. So hang in there, be in touch if you have questions or concerns, and I'll talk to everybody